All right, we are live tonight for this week's mashup. I am joined by, well, I guess we'll call him a good teammate, but Jacob Westendorf from also the Pack a Day podcast. We've had the pleasure of working together for over a year now. It's been a lot of fun, but you're coming on to talk about the Eagles this week. So how you doing? Yeah, it's always a good matchup when these two get together, and that the 4th and 26 is one of the most infamous, blunders in recent Packers history. So but like we said, it's always a good time when these two teams get together, and I don't think it'll be any different on Thursday, given the fact that it's a Thursday night football game. I think the Eagles are going to be on kind of the up and up. They haven't been that good to start the year, but they always kind of struggle, and then they always seem to put it together because Doug Peterson's a hell of a coach. And Carson Wentz is a pretty good quarterback himself. But they're dealing with their fair share of injuries this week, so they might have their obstacles to overcome. But, speaking of the injuries, we can actually kind of go over those real quick. The most significant ones, I should say, would probably be Alshon Jeffrey and Deshaun Jackson at wide receiver. And then we have Ronald Darby at corner. So, maybe of those three or anybody else, is there an injury that you're kind of looking at from the Eagles' perspective that you'd want to exploit from a Packers perspective? Mm-hmm. Jeez. Okay. Okay. Yeah, I tend to agree with you. So I'm actually being told by a viewer that we don't have any audio for you. So give me a second here. It might be on your end. So let's see here. Yeah. And so if you guys are looking to getting into live streaming and video game sharing, all your your gameplay and stuff like that, this is a little bit of a tutorial for you. But I think I will need you, Jacob, to go into your party settings and allow your voice to be shared. So I would hit, I would go to party. Yes, he is. So yeah, you'll go to party settings, and then it should be an option that says allow your voice to be shared. You just put always allow, and it'll be good. Yep. Let's make sure we get. Party settings, and then it should be an option that says allow your voice to be shared. You just put always allow, and it'll be good. Yep. Let's make sure we get. All right, you're on. You're really quiet, but you're on there. So.
Well, I mean, quiet's better than better than not. So
Yeah, exactly. And we can always bump the volume later. So, anyway, so yeah, we were just kind of talking about DeSean Jackson. He's going to be he is a big part of what the Eagles wanted to do. And I was actually looking for the Packers to target him this past offseason when he wanted out of Tampa. I thought he would have been a great fit alongside Davante Adams. When they brought him in, I believed that Carson Wentz had what we'll call them MVP aspirations, and I still think he does. I think he has a really good year because of what DeSean Jackson brings that offense. Because when he's not in there, they just get a little bit more condensed. They're going to want to run the football. They're going to spell guys in and out. They've got 3 or 4 guys they'll get carries for. There's real Jimmy Graham for you.
Drop that? It's Jimmy Graham. There you go.
Yeah, so, that's going to be a big one for them to overcome. I think Kevin King matches up really well with Alshon Jeffrey, actually. And that's a matchup I'll be looking forward to because I don't think he's had to play a receiver like Alshon Jeffrey yet. Maybe Allen Robinson, but, Alshon Jeffrey's a different beast. So how do you think Kevin King's going to fare? He's played well so far. Obviously, he's been able to stay healthy, knock on wood, this far in the season. But how do you think he's going to fare against a veteran receiver like Alshon Jeffrey?
Yeah, I like his chances. Like I mentioned when people couldn't hear us, that I think that there's a specific type of receiver that Kevin King matches up well with. And Alshon Jeffrey's not going to beat you laterally. He's not going to beat you on in cuts, which are things that tend to give Kevin King trouble. This is a physical on physical matchup, and King can use his size and speed combination to match up with the size that is Alshon Jeffrey. So I like that matchup. I think it's one. I mean, Jeffrey's going to get his share because he's a really good player, and really good players make plays. That's just how it works. I mean, it's rare, and it's rare that you get guys like Emmanuel Sanders, for example, is a really good player, but it didn't matter on Sunday because Jair Alexander is a budding superstar, and I think King is a good player, but he's not a player that Jair Alexander is, especially at this point in their careers. So, like I said, to sum that up, I think that he'll do well in the matchup. It's just a matter of who, when they win their individual battles, how much does it matter?
That's fair. So would you say that Alshon Jeffrey is going to be one of your keys to the game, or would it probably be the run game? Because I think that's the area I would look to really kind of stop this Eagles offense, is not allow that play action game to get going.
Right. I think that I'm trying to keep play action away as much as possible.
Oh, wow.
Speaking of DeSean Jackson.
Yeah. Well. Oh, gosh.
So that won't happen on Thursday because he won't be available. Apparently, the game's not up to date on the injury report yet.
Yeah, I thought it would be.
I'm looking at getting the Eagles onto their 3rd and long type situation. Their running game has not gotten off to a good start. They're running a lot of different running backs through their backfield. Doug Peterson usually does a really good job with personnel. You guys remember when they won the Super Bowl, they had Corey Clement, they had the Garrett Blount, and they had, who's the other guy that I've been doing off the top of my head? Oh, Darren Sproles, of course. And I think one other, if I'm not mistaken. Sproles got hurt over, so the name escapes me at the moment, so I apologize for that. But their running game hasn't gotten off to that start this year. They hoped Miles Sanders would be a help for them. They hoped that Darren Sproles would come back and kind of find that fountain of youth for them, and they traded for Jordan Howard, and Jordan Howard hasn't been anything special. So for their offense, it really is. This is Carson Wentz's show, and they have a core group of wide receivers at this point in time. If you have a low opinion of the Packers receiving core, the Packers receiving core is better than what Philadelphia is currently trotting out there.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, a lot of that's due to the injuries, too, that we've talked about. Because I think before the season, we're probably talking about maybe one of the deeper receiving groups when you start talking about J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, and then, Nelson Aguilar is capable at getting open. I don't know about catching the actual football, but he can get open. And then, Alshon Jeffrey, the veteran presence, DeSean Jackson, a veteran presence. That's a pretty good group of guys. But, the injuries start to really pile up, and you're forced to play a guy like a J.J. Arcega-Whiteside in a bigger role than you probably wanted to, and, it starts to show. So Zach Ertz is going to be the other guy that you're really kind of keeping an eye out for on this Eagles offense as a guy who can make impactful plays. And he's going to attack the middle of the field. So with the lack of linebacker for Green Bay, what do you think are some things that Pettine's going to do to try and negate Zach Ertz?
I think this is the time for Josh Jackson to shine. There's been some questions about whether or not he's taking that leap, whether or not he's lost. Start having that conversation. This is a guy who obviously they'll have some opportunities with Ronald Savage and AJ Daniels. Last year, one of the big adjustments that Patton made in that opening day comeback over the Bears was he basically said, Josh Jackson, your guy is Trey Burton, and you shadow him. And Burton got shut down. And again, Jackson was pathway up drive later in the game as well. So I think he's a guy who Jackson has a versatile skill set in the sense where he can play some outside corner for you. He's at his best rising on the quarterback. If you have him running the tight ends, that kind of masks his speed deficiencies. So I think that's your big match to be going for. So Josh Jackson, they used Will Redmond over the weekend against Denver when with Raven Green out and they have some issues. I don't get it personally. I don't see it with Will Redmond, especially when Jackson was the second round pick and somebody I really liked. So that's what I think I would look to for Zach Ertz, because you saw it on Sunday after practice. The Eagles were unable to really do anything after Detroit basically said, okay, we're gonna have Zach Ertz doubled, and somebody else is gonna do this, and somebody else could do this.
Yeah. Well, I think that this Eagles offense is kind of moving away from having Zach Ertz be in that impactful role. I think they would love to get Dallas Goedert more involved. Carson Wentz's health is a big thing too, as far as is he going to be 100%? It's all kind of a crapshoot with him at this point, and that sucks to see because he's such a talented dude. But if you're looking at this the Eagles offensive line, I see the purple and yellow on my screen. But if you're looking at this Eagles offensive line, I think this is the toughest offensive line that the Packers have had to face this year. And so that's going to be a real test for this revamped Packers front. Where are you looking to kind of attack on this Eagles offensive line?
Yeah, one of the reasons I thought the Eagles were on Super Bowl contenders is because they legitimately run 4 deep offensive backs. Starters are Jason Peters and Dave Johnson, who are both really good players. Jason Peters is a really good player. Joseph Vaitai was just the starting quarterback in the Super Bowl for them. And then you've got Andre Dillard, who they picked in the first round. And some people, the Faculty Podcast and draft people wanted the Packers to pick at 12 overall. So he's a really good player too. I think I just answered your question by saying if you're looking to attack, Jason Kelsey's a good player, getting a little longer in the tooth, and I think that is a matchup that Hank Clark can exploit. But I'm really looking for Rashawn Gary has started to get more snaps, which allows Darius Smith to pick inside, where he's been a good outside rusher, but he's more effective on the inside. That's not to say he's been ineffective on the outside. So I think the Packers pass rush, the way to beat that, you've got to get them on the interior with those guys in the offensive line, regardless, which is still pretty good with the guys that last in there. Those are the guys you got to attack.
So do you think we'll see do you think we'll see somebody like Kingsley Keek get a little more opportunity, a guy who can provide some pass rush juice? Because I think Lancaster has been important the last couple of weeks because they played the Broncos and they played the Vikings, who clearly wanted to run the football. Same thing, I guess, could go for the Bears. I don't know what to make of them at this point as far as offensive tendencies, but basically, do you think we'll see a little bit more pass rush juice in the interior rather than the beefy guys like Tyler Lancaster?
Yeah, Kingsley Keek had some nice reps last week. Good too. I know I kind of went unnoticed because he didn't have the slash play.
Right.
He did really well. There's an interior rush where he just puts the pocket right back in Joe Flacco's lap. And I think it was Preston Smith who was the sack. Maybe it was Darius. I don't know. There were so many of them, honestly. But I would love to see Kiki on the field. I think he had a really strong camp, a really strong preseason. Lancaster is a nice player for what he does. His upside is there. Isn't there extremely? So, that's where I'm a little bit more of a proponent of an all-Brown type. But Fidel Brown, Kingsley Keek, those guys, I'm going to be more often than not. they have more juice in the phase of the game than Adams, which is the best.
Well, and that interior pass rush is just so key, and I think that's why Kenny Clark needs to be, locked up like tomorrow. I'm actually a little bit disappointed that it's taken them this long to do it. I understand why they don't have to do it anytime soon. The defensive tackle market is not going anywhere. It's pretty stagnant right now, and it's pretty locked in with the recent Grady Jarrett contract. So, kind of shifting the focus to the offense now. This has got to be the week that they get going, right?
You would think you either get banged up in the secondary, they've gotten torched by teams' number one receivers, and with all due respect to the teams the Eagles have played, Julio Jones is supposed to be the exception, but outside of Julio Jones, they haven't faced a receiver like Devontae Adams. So,
No.
Obviously, he wants to get more targets to Adams. He also mentioned Jimmy Graham, which is very good. But I think that this has got to be the week where Adams gets in the game. Very simple. Football to me is a very simple game. Who are the good players? Get the ball to them in the biggest moments. Because look at the Patriots. Last year, the AFC Championship game, first drive in overtime. They faced 3 third downs. What did they do? It wasn't something cute. They were going to match up for Julian Edelman twice. They were going to match up for Rob Gronkowski once. What do those guys have in common? The Patriots best player. Because Devontae Adams is one of those best players that kind of give them opportunities.
I completely agree. Oh, wow. Well, that was a good Jimmy play, too. He didn't really go up for it. It's kind of lazy. Well, geez, he's going to... Oh, man. Wow. Jeez. Well, this is not a good start. It's going to be... I predict it's going to be actually an ugly football game. It's Thursday night. I just hate Thursday night football games in general. There's just not a lot of time to prepare. There's not a lot of time to get healthy. Well, that's a good break. I need to score for the half, though. There's just not a lot of time to get right before you go take on an opponent. The Packers are at an advantage because they didn't have to travel. They're not going to have to travel, I should say, for this game. They get to sit at home and be comfortable in that regard. And I think if this were a game in Philly, I would probably be favoring the Eagles in this game, just because I feel like they're on the verge of kind of putting it all together. Those first few weeks, a lot of coaches and a lot of smart coaches, they spend a lot of that time experimenting, and they don't really get into their flow and their niche of things until weeks 3, 4, 5, 6. This next span of games is going to be where the good teams really start to take off, and we kind of see things level out. I think there's 7 undefeated teams right now. I don't see that lasting more than a couple weeks. Obviously, a couple of those teams play this week, but the Packers could be very well... Oh, my goodness, Rodgers. The Packers could very well be one of those teams this week, and I don't mean that from a perspective of they're bad, because I think they're actually good, and I think we were underestimating just how good this defense is going to be. I thought it was going to be really good coming into the year, but it's kind of... Wow, man. I can't throw right now for crap. Oh, boy. Jeez. Well, I can assure you, as I said when I played Kevin Tompkins last week, that I threw a bunch of picks in that game as well. I was like, oh, Rodgers isn't going to do this, and he didn't. So, I'm setting that trend at least. Oh, you're gonna... Okay. So I'm looking at this offense, though. They really do need to pick it up because, like as you said, there's just so many opportunities. He dropped that. Yeah, he did. There's just so many opportunities across the board for them to kind of get it going. And the running the ball is going to be tough because the Eagles still have one of the better defensive lines in football. So it's going to have to come through the air. And I think Marquez Valdes-Scantling needs to kind of keep his upward trend going. Geronimo Allison, I would like to see him pick it up. If he struggles this week, man, I don't know. I think it might be time to give some of the other guys a rep. Jimmy Graham should have an opportunity to make plays this week. It's just, if it doesn't happen this week, I don't know when. So if the offense is going to get going, what would be the reason why if you had to pick one right now?
Devontae Adams.
Just Devontae Adams?
Well, I mean, not just. It starts with your best player. And I think that he hasn't gotten going yet for various reasons. Same can be said for Aaron Jones, not his best offensive players, haven't played great games yet. And there's a lot of reasons for that, but that's how it's been. Marquez Valdez-Scantling had a nice game last week. I think that he's shown enough to really feel like he can. I would say that the Packers have 1.5 receivers. Devontae Adams is one, MVS is a half. I think you can feel relatively confident with MVS, but at the same time, I think that after that, you mentioned John Miles, and to me, that was somebody that they never should have been wrong. I don't think. I think that he's a limited athlete with limited upside, and when you keep someone like Jake Kumerow, I often argued in the offseason that those are the same two players. And I don't know if Kumerow is any better, but at this point I'm willing to at least try and find that out.
Jeez.
Darius Shepard to get some opportunities as well. Did you an interception?
No, it was 4th down. I went for it, and I probably shouldn't have.
Oh, look at that. How much but I think that I'm already with you on if Geronimo Allison has been an absolute net negative. He's had one play for a touchdown against the Vikings, and that was it. Other than that, he's been hit for. And I mean he's a nice player, a nice story. He's like a perfect example of training camp and what those things can do when you make a play a day. But really, everybody pointed to what he was doing last year and how it was. Oh, he was leading the team in receiving before he got hurt. And that's all well and good, but there's got to be some projection of this. And frankly, if the Packers don't win this season, I would be willing to bet more likely than not the reason is because that their offense wasn't good enough because they didn't have enough weapons in the passing game.
I think that's fair, and I think I was one of the, we'll call them analysts, looking elsewhere in the first round and not really looking to spend a first round pick on. I think it was Savage that forced that. I'm not sure. I wasn't really looking to spend a first round pick on a receiver, and I don't think I will be in 2020. I just don't believe in first round receivers for the most part. I think you can find better value at the position in the second round. But if a guy like a Jerry Jeudy, a guy who adds just an incredible dimension of speed to this offense is available, I think that's something that this team has been lacking for a very, very long time. Is a guy who can stretch the field, open it up, allow Rodgers to just kind of say, hey man, go, I'm going to get it to you. And I think Marquez Valdez-Scantling has the ability to be that guy, but I don't think they see him like that, So I'm looking for somebody to step up in that kind of role, and maybe it's a Darius Shepard type, a role that Trevor Davis was never really able to fill, and maybe it's Darius Shepard for the win. But what are your takes on Darius Shepard as far as what do you think he can have any actual offensive impact rather than just special teams?
He's the only player that looks like what a slot receiver is supposed to look like in this offense. So from that sense, the thing about him, I know that Trevor Davis. Let's not make this guy have to be Randy Moss. I say this, but that being said, I don't understand. I know he's not a part of the long-term future, but I don't understand trading him because
oh my gosh,
he has an opportunity, I think, to do some of the things that I think it was Zach Jacobson, Packer Report today, who said that Trevor Davis has more receiving yards than Geronimo Allison, and Trevor Davis played one game with the Packers where that's not going to happen.
Yeah. It's not good. Oh, man, I am just shooting myself in the foot today.
For some reason, I can't kick the ball, so.
Hey. All right, well. Trevor Davis to me was a guy that just kind of, we talked about how Trevor Davis was a guy who could have come in and made an impact. He just never did. And people were upset that Gutekunst traded him for a late round pick. They were never going to resign Trevor Davis after this year, and that's just I called it a good move. It was good, roster churning, I think, on Gutekunst's part. I do think that they need somebody to step up in that quick, fast receiver type of role, and Geronimo Allison is not it. I thought he could have been effective in the spot, but he hasn't looked like the same player since he got hurt last year, and it's kind of tough to see, but at the same time, it is a business, and I don't know how much longer they can give him opportunities. So let's say Geronimo Allison does have a bad day today, on Thursday. What kind of a leash are you giving him after this week?
Well, I wasn't going to begin with, but
No.
I mean, it's short. I think that we're already at the point where you should be looking at somebody that,
Jesus. Oi.
See, I'm getting all the big players are all the injured guys, though, so this doesn't really count. Sean Jackson, Darby's got a thread.
Rogers is just off right now. I can't hit an in route to save my life. Goodness. All right.
I'm cool with it. So, but to go on this, I mean, I think those questions are valid. They've got to find ways to start scoring points. The quarterback has to play better. I think that's part of it as well. That it's kind of a story that nobody really wants to talk about. The fact that Aaron Rodgers is missing some plays out there in the field as well.
Except for Aaron Rodgers, he's talked about it.
That's true. That's true. I will say that. I give the quarterback credit for this. He has talked about the fact that he needs it. So, from that standpoint, there is accountability. But yeah, from a fan base standpoint, there is no criticism to be had ever. I think that's something that hasn't been talked about that could be. But ultimately, I mean, what it comes down to.
Oh boy, that was a.
So Carson Wentz does not run because when he runs, he fumbles. Got it. But I mean, I think that the Packers need to find ways to start scoring points, and I know they scored 27 against Vic Fangio's defense on Sunday, but 14 of those points pretty much get wrapped by turnovers, which they all count. I'm not saying that they don't, but there you go. That's your guy right there.
Yeah, right.
Water Jesus. There's your guy that fixes everything on the offense.
Clearly.
But in all seriousness, I mean, Geronimo Allison is not a player that is like this guy that it's not like in 2015 when Devontae Adams was having a really bad year and half the fan base wanted to bench, almost the entire fan base wanted to bench for Geronimo Allison, Jared Abbrederis or Jeff Janis. The difference being that Devontae Adams is a high upside second round pick talent. And this group is not that. Geronimo Allison is not that. Somebody showed me the stat the other day that the Packers have more undrafted receivers in their roster than they do draft picks. And from that standpoint, if this offense continues to struggle throughout the season, they're getting what they paid for. So I think that leash can be as short as if he's stinking up the place again on Thursday night, you gotta find somebody else to get out there.
I completely agree, and you know, Gutekunst has shown that he likes to double dip. He didn't quite do it this past year, but he does like to go out and double dip at positions that he needs. And just instead of it becoming, you know, a hindrance, and then at the same time, oh my gosh, Rogers. He likes to take that weakness and make it into a strength. He did it with the secondary in his first draft in 2018. He added another piece in 2019 with Darnell Savage and then Adrian Amos, but that was the safety position. He double dipped at corner with Jair Alexander and Josh Jackson, and then and then he double dipped at safety with Amos and Savage, and he double dipped at the edge position with the Smith brothers. So. And Rashawn Gary, so he triple dipped there. But basically, he likes to take these positions that are weak and make them a strength. So now, looking forward already, let's say it's week 17. What's the weakest position on this team?
Oh gosh, tight end. I know I just said all that stuff about the wide receiver, but the tight end position. Jimmy Graham was just caught a pass there. It has been a net negative. Mercedes Lewis is a nice player, a nice story, but he's old, long in the tooth, whatever way you want to put it. Robert Tonyan is a fan favorite, but other than one play in Seattle, what has he ever shown that makes people believe he's a surefire great player?
Exactly.
So I'm not sure what that is. You know, Jay Sternberger hasn't played a snap this year, and he's been hurt twice already. So, I mean, this position has been a black hole.
Yeah.
Just gross for this season. They had a nice start against Chicago, I guess. Jimmy Graham made a couple of plays. Robert Tonyan had a nice play there, but since then, it's been almost nothing for this tight end. So I think that that's the answer, but wide receiver could definitely be the first second what it is if we're looking ahead.
So, you know, Do you think that Gutekunst would dip into free agency again, or would that be a position that he would look to draft again? I would think that he'd want to go out and get a veteran, and then try and see what they have in Sternberger. Oh boy, I'll take. Oh no, Kevin King. But I don't necessarily see him drafting two, because they did spend a relatively high pick, a third-round pick, on Jay Sternberger. But do you think they go out and add a legit tight end, like we'll say an Austin Hooper, like, because he'll be available, but like for his price tag, you know, I'm not sure if that's something that Gutekunst is going to be interested in. But he's a legitimate receiving threat, so.
I think the receiving threat is on the roster. I think that, I mean, they're not just going to say, okay, forget it, Sternberger, you got hurt, and we're just going to move on with that. They're not going to do that. So I think that from a tight end standpoint, they're going to need a veteran, though, because Robert Tonyan, not on the contract, Jimmy Graham, not on the contract, St. Louis, not on the contract. So once you get past those guys, there's one tight end guaranteed to be on the roster in 2020. And they're not going to roll out, I would imagine, Robert Tonyan and Jay Sternberger and whatever else. Are you kidding me?
Hey, look at that Packers defense causing turnovers.
But they're not going to roll those guys out as the solution to this problem. So I'm not sure if that means they go out and grab this big time money free agent, or if it means they draft a guy relatively high. From last year, if you were going to draft tight end high last year's year, you get those two kids from Iowa.
That's true.
Some sort of impact, but I don't know what the tight end class looks like so far this year. I know the receiver class is loaded. I wouldn't be surprised if they double dip there.
Yeah.
And, you know, our starting two are MVS and Adams. And we're going to add a couple guys behind it, including two slot receivers. I know Jerry Jeudy's like the name that's going to come up, but this is the guy who you have to probably make the Julio Jones trade for.
But would you? But would you? Like, regardless of whether or not you think they'll do it, would you?
No, because I know, like you mentioned earlier, I think the value for receivers is so low. I mean, yeah, there's been some good
Oy.
receivers.
That's bad.
Things like that. But I mean, the sweet spot for the Packers, and I thought for the last couple of years, that Green Bay was kind of going to grab one of those receivers in the second half of the draft, like they had several times when they were touchdowns. They didn't do it. They passed on some different guys to draft Elton Jenkins, passing some other guys to draft Josh Jackson. I was hoping that potentially Cortland Sutton would have been available. They kind of all saw why. Are you roughing the picker on it? That's horrible.
Hey, the game is very realistic. The game is very realistic.
I didn't even touch the picker. That makes no sense. Yeah, whatever. But no, I wouldn't. There's no short answer to that question. I think that there's too many guys that they've had an opportunity with, and ultimately you're looking at some other positions. And if Brian Balaga's not back, the offensive line becomes a story. Defense still going to be replenished in some spots. Inside linebacker could be a position that gets potentially ugly if they continue to go somewhere else. So,
oh my!
There's a lot of.
Anyway,
everybody was open if you got
yes.
There's a lot of options that they have. I wouldn't trade the farm to draft a wide receiver because I know Julio Jones is great and one of the best receivers we've ever seen. That being said, the Atlanta Falcons still have an empty trophy case, so they probably could have used some of those picks for some different things. It's no disrespect to Julio the player, but I'm not trading picks like that unless it's for a quarterback or maybe a left tackle.
That's fair. I think that tackle is going to be the way they go. Just kind of looking at the trends of the way that Gutekunst has addressed these rosters. Don't want to talk about it, but Bakhtiari's contract is up in a couple years. It's worth revisiting. I think Andy Herman's talked about it a little bit. He has, I think, negatively graded Bakhtiari throughout the first 3 weeks. I could be misquoting him on that, but he did at least have a negative grade through 2 weeks. I saw that. So, he's off to a slow start this year. Granted, he's played some ridiculous talent on the edge to begin the year with Khalil Mack, Leonard Floyd, Everson Griffin, Danielle Hunter. And that's not even talking about Bradley Chubb, Von Miller. It's just an insane amount of guys. So maybe he starts to pick it up, quote unquote, pick it up. I think he's been fine. Bullock has been amazing to start the year, but that's never been the problem. He's never been bad when he plays. It's just when he plays. So I think that tackle is going to be the route that they go with a high draft pick next year. And I think receiver is going to be a close second. Inside linebackers up there. I think interior defensive line is slowly becoming that as well. Speaking of Mike Daniels, I don't know if he's done much of anything in Detroit for the year. Yeah, which I think that was the reason that Green Bay ultimately moved on. Is that foot injury was just too bad. It was too severe for him to kind of play at a high. Holy crap! Kevin King just destroyed him. But at a high rate and consistently. So, but I think interior defensive line, even with the emergence of Kingsley Keek and Montravius Adams this year, I think that defensive line is also becoming a slow need. It's kind of one where they're like, okay, we could add some talent, but we don't need to. And that's in a position they could address high next year. So, but we're in week 3 or week 4. We just finished week 3. I am looking forward to how the Packers match up with the Eagles, because the Eagles have just, as we talked about, a lot of different talent in a lot of different areas that they haven't really had to deal with yet. So it's a different team that they've seen. I think the offense needs to get going, obviously, which we've talked about now at length. But let's go back to the Eagles defense real quick. Who's the guy that you're keying in on as a key, let's say, X factor, a guy that you have to eliminate in order to be successful on offense for the Eagles defense?
Fletcher Cox, he's the best player in my opinion, one of the most underrated players in all of the NFL, because he's not quite in the conversation of, say, like Aaron Donald or anything like that.
Right.
But he's in that next tier. He's a really good player. He's had some struggles this year. He's coming off an injury. They say he hasn't been the same player since that injury happened, so I understand that. But even still, Fletcher Cox is one of those dudes that when it's game time, when it's time to make a big play, that's who you got to watch. Brandon Graham's a good player. Derek Barnett has been a good player for Philadelphia for a while. Chris Long is recently retired. The Eagles' defense is built on minute because their defensive backs, even when they're healthy, they stink. And that is where you exploit the Eagles. When the Eagles won the Super Bowl a couple years ago, it's not like their defensive backs. We were talking about having Revis Island on one side and Deion Sanders on the other. I mean, they didn't have a lot of good guys back there, so it really was about their front. Are they able to create pressure to make your Aaron Rodgers uncomfortable? And ultimately, Cox is a one-man wrecking crew at the end of the game. So that's something. I think that's the guy right away. You circle it. That's a rookie. Probably going to face him. I'm sure they'll put him across from Elgton Jenkins and give the rookie a little bit of an introduction as to how things work here in the NFL. But I'm interested to see how the rookie holds up on that too, because I thought early in the game on Sunday, I thought he had some jitters. He had a false start penalty. He got beat on his first pass rush rep. But after that, I thought he settled in very nicely and played very well. This is a guy who, Elgton Jenkins, when he was picked, it was, oh my God, they picked a guard and instead of a receiver or a tight end or something sexy like that. I think this guy's going to be a brick on this team for the next 10 years.
See, I actually loved the pick. When I saw the name come across the board, it was not what I expected. But he was a guy I had the pleasure of watching while I was doing all my pre-draft stuff, and I loved what I saw on the tape when he was at Miss, because he's a smart dude. He's a really smart dude. He played center in college and at Mississippi State, but he played center, and he has the athletic ability to play pretty much anywhere on the offensive line. And I think that's maybe not left tackle, but I think in a pinch, in an absolute emergency, he could swing out to right tackle, because he's an athletic dude and he's smart enough to do it. And like you said, I think he's going to be a key building block on this offensive line for years to come now. And it's going to look like a hit.
It's not like your first option, but it's also not like Josh Sitton playing left tackle.
Oh my gosh.
In the last game of the season. It's going to be an interesting watch here for how it is that I was just like, you get tackled by Foxborough. But it's not the disaster that putting Josh Sitton at the left tackle was, and that level of desperation. But it's not like, oh, when if Brian Balaga is gone next year, the right tackle of the future.
No. Like I said, purely an emergency situation, but I'd be nervous about it, but I wouldn't hate it because I just know that the guy is super talented and super intelligent, and he's just going to be a solid football player, and I think that that's something this team has been lacking for a very long time. Is just solid football players.
So fortunate.
I was tracking it with Savage. I was actually hoping you'd throw it.
Oh really? Okay, I missed this.
Yeah, I was coming from the left, but I saw him break free on the wheel. I was like, oh crap. Anyway, so moving on from that, I mean, I don't think that the Packers are going to miss Lane Taylor that much. Sadly, you don't want to really say that when a guy goes down with an injury, but I think that Elgton Jenkins has been starting from the beginning of the season, so no harm, no foul there for me. Malcolm Jenkins is a guy that I think the Packers need to key in on because he's kind of like their middle linebacker. He's the quarterback of that defense. He's the guy who's going to direct everybody else where to go, and he's the guy that Aaron Rodgers is ultimately going to have to identify. And they do a lot of different things with Malcolm Jenkins. He plays everywhere. He'll play single high. He'll play down in the box. He's a very smart, savvy player. Been in the league for a long time. He's a guy that could ultimately make an impact in this game. And
Jenkins. I talked to my dad, and my dad was watching the game this year. He's the one who blocked the field goal. Gave the Eagles a chance to win. So there's just certain guys on teams that you just know when it's a big moment. It's like, oh man, of course he made that play. Like for Green Bay for years, and I'm not comparing the two players. Charles Woodson's Hall of Famer, and I'm not sure that Malcolm Jenkins is in that class, but it always seems to be Malcolm Jenkins, and it's a big play to be had for that Eagles defense.
I see here. As far as being on defense, it's going to be a lot of misdirection. The Eagles definitely are not afraid to try some different things. We saw the Philly special when they beat the Patriots in the Super Bowl. The defense is going to have to keep their eyes up, and they're going to have to be vigilant and aware at all times. Oh, come on, Turner. Jeez. He just stood there. I was sure he was going to get that block, and then he just stood there. But speaking of Turner, apparently he's very highly rated according to PFF in pass blocking. So it looks like another good get from Gutekunst. Let's see here.
It doesn't quite
No, me neither. But PFF has his moments for sure. Well, we are kind of getting down to the nitty gritty here, so give me one X factor on offense for the Eagles and the Packers, and one on the defense for both teams. And then we'll kind of go into a prediction from there.
Gotcha. Yeah, so for the Packers, I think the factor really is they need to get somebody. I mean, I mentioned Devontae Adams earlier being like this big key, but I really do think the other guys need to step up. Because ultimately, it became like a cute little anecdote during the season of Adams pointing, counting how many bears are guarding him. But that's the case of how it's going to be until somebody else on this team steps up and makes a play down the field. Makes it play consistently in the offense. So I think the other receivers, they're going to step up. This is the week to do it because the Eagles are out of cornerbacks. It's hard to be out of cornerbacks in this league. Zadarius, he's pretty good.
Yeah.
What a gift there. On the other side for the Packers, their X factor on defense, I think it's the same as always. Pressure the quarterback. If you can have somebody that can play the quarterback position and sack the quarterback, you're off to a pretty good start. So I think that Green Bay needs to continue to. I think that Green Bay needs to continue to get pressure on the quarterback. They've done that each of the first 3 weeks, and they've really. I mean, this front has ruined 3 games. Kirk Cousins is at his best when he's able to just sit in the pocket, pick you apart. Packers offense will not allow him to do that. So I think that on defense, that's the thing. For the Eagles, it really is. Can they get their passing game down? They need to be able to protect Carson Wentz. They need to protect Carson Wentz. They need to be able to, on defense, slow down Devontae Adams as much as possible because they haven't done that for 3 weeks of the season, and it's tough to play football that way when the other team's best players are just wrecking you from the start to finish. So that's what I got for each team. I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, you did very much so. So just to kind of end the game here, and that's gonna be all she wrote.
I just trashed him earlier, and he gets the game.
I actually like Will Redmond. Maybe not like I don't love him as a player, but I do actually like him. I think I like what he has to offer. But let's end this with your prediction for Thursday.
I said at the beginning of the season I thought that Green Bay was going to win this game because they haven't. You touched on it a little bit earlier. They haven't traveled in 3 full weeks. The Eagles are coming off a tough loss. They're banged up and they beat up a little bit. And the Packers defense is one of the best in the NFL. I think that's a recipe for success for Green Bay. So I like Green Bay to win this game and maybe by about 10 points. So I'll say 30 to 20 to break 30 to 20.
Yeah, I think I like Green Bay in this game as well, just for some of the reasons that we just kind of talked about. I think it's a little bit closer, though, because I think that this Philly team, as I've talked about a couple times now, I think they're close to kind of breaking out and being the Philadelphia Eagles that we're used to seeing. Doug Peterson is going to coach successfully. He's a good coach. They've been in every game that they played this year. Unfortunately, they just haven't gone their way every time, but they've been in every game, and I think that it's going to be a very competitive game, and I think it's going to be a one-score game, and ultimately I think the final team to get possession of the football is going to win the game. But I think it's going to be about a 24-21 Packers win on Thursday.
There you have it. We both like Green Bay to win then.
All right, well, before I let you go, if you want to tell the people where they can find you and your work.
Yeah, you can find me at Jacob Westenberg on Twitter, and then my work is at PackerReport.com. You can find me there, and then my Twitter account for that is at PackerReport66. And there's some new stuff coming shortly, but I can't tell you all just yet.
Fair enough. It's a really exciting time for Packers news reporting, and the Packers Twitter world as the Packer Report gets into the hands of Ross Uglum. It's gonna be fun. It's going to be a fun year, and I can't wait for the draft coverage part of it as well. So, looking forward to Thursday. It's going to be a good one. This was fun. This was a lot of fun, though. We'll have to do this again later in the season. It's always fun to get two Packers guys on here, even if one of them's a little bit of a jerk at times. But we forgive people for that.
Don't beat yourself up, Jim. You're not bad.
Appreciate that. All right, man. Thanks for coming on. Everybody, thanks for listening. Give me your feedback, your comments, and subscribe to the Pack to the Future YouTube channel. Until next week, have a good one. Go Pack, go.